The birth of the WNBA. In 1996, women's basketball had momentum, but it didn't yet have a league. The U.S. women's Olympic team had just gone undefeated in Atlanta, reclaiming gold and dominating every opponent. That run lit a fire. Packed arenas, national buzz, and millions of viewers proved what had always been true. The talent was there, the audience was ready, and women's basketball deserved a professional stage. Enter the WNBA. Backed by the NBA and Commissioner David Stern, the WNBA was officially announced on April 24, 1996. It was more than a press release, it was a promise. "We Got Next" became more than a slogan, it was a mission. By the summer of 1997, 8 teams were ready to tip off. The Liberty, Sparks, Comets, Sting, Mercury, Stars, Rockers, and Monarchs. June 21, 1997. Game 1. The inaugural matchup between the New York Liberty and Los Angeles Sparks at the Great Western Forum wasn't just historic, it was a full statement. Over 14,000 fans packed the arena. Lisa Leslie, the Sparks' towering center and future legend, went head-to-head with Liberty star Rebecca Lobo. But it was New York that came out firing, winning 67-57 behind the gritty leadership of Teresa Weatherspoon and the shooting of Kim Hampton. A league had officially been born. But the biggest headline belonged to Houston. The Comets, led by the electrifying Cynthia Cooper, went 18-10 in the regular season and absolutely stormed through the playoffs. Cooper dropped 25 points in the inaugural WNBA championship game, leading Houston to a 65-51 win over the Liberty in front of a roaring Summit crowd. She would average over 22 points per game for the season, at age 34, and be named the league's first MVP and Finals MVP. Alongside Cooper were future Hall of Famers Cheryl Swoops, who returned mid-season after giving birth, and Tina Thompson, the #1 overall draft pick. That trio wasn't just talented, they were unstoppable. Together, they'd form the foundation of the league's first true dynasty. Other unforgettable moments? The Cleveland Rockers and Charlotte Sting played in one of the season's most intense games, a 76-71 overtime thriller that helped cement the league's competitive credibility. And Utah Stars rookie Wendy Palmer dropped a 30-piece late in the season, proving the young stars were ready to shine. Attendance averaged over 9,000 fans per game, a number that shocked analysts. Nike, Gatorade, and other major sponsors jumped in. The WNBA had arrived and people were watching. This wasn't a gimmick, it was real basketball, bold, physical, and led by pioneers who weren't just playing for themselves. They were laying the bricks for everything that would come next. In 1 year, the WNBA went from an idea to a phenomenon. It wasn't perfect, but it was powerful, and it had only just begun. The Houston Comets dynasty. What the Celtics were to the 60s and the Bulls were to the 90s, the Houston Comets were to the birth of the WNBA. From the league's first tip-off in 1997 through the dawn of the new millennium, the Comets weren't just winning, they were dominating. In just 4 years, they won 4 straight championships. No team in WNBA history, before or since, has matched that. At the center of it all was Cynthia Cooper. At 34 years old in her rookie season, she was unlike anything the league had ever seen. Confident, cold-blooded, and completely unguardable. Cooper wasn't just scoring, she was torching opponents. In the 1998 finals, she averaged 28.3 points per game and nailed a game-winning jumper with just seconds left to clinch the title over the Phoenix Mercury. Her signature tongue-out celebration became the league's first iconic image. Alongside Cooper was Tina Thompson, the WNBA's very first draft pick, a power forward with a smooth jumper and a ferocious post game, and Cheryl Swoops, the first woman to have a Nike signature shoe. Swoops missed the first half of the 1997 season due to pregnancy, but returned in time to help Houston lift the trophy. Together, the trio was nearly unbeatable, a perfect blend of experience, athleticism, and championship DNA. The Comets' dominance wasn't just about winning, it was how they won. In the 1999 season, they finished 26-6 and cruised through the playoffs, sweeping the Los Angeles Sparks in the Western Conference Finals and dismantling the New York Liberty in the championship game. Cooper averaged 26.9 points in the postseason. That same year, Houston's defense led the league in opponent points allowed, a testament to their grit as much as their flash. The 2000 Finals brought more drama. In a now legendary Game 2 against the Liberty, Teresa Weatherspoon hit a half-court buzzer beater to stun Houston and force a deciding Game 3. It was the first time anyone had really shaken the Comets in the finals. But in the decider, Houston flexed their dynasty muscles. Cooper dropped 25, and the Comets took the title once again. During these 4 seasons, Cynthia Cooper won 4 Finals MVPs and 2 League MVPs. She retired in 2000 at the top of the game, sealing her legacy as arguably the most impactful player in WNBA history. Thompson and Swoops continued to thrive, but the magic of that original trio would never be replicated. Off the court, the Comets became the face of the league, featured in national commercials, Nike campaigns, and magazine covers. They drew huge crowds to the Compaq Center and gave Houston its first real basketball dynasty, predating the city's modern NBA success. This era built the league's legitimacy. It gave fans a villain, a hero, a dynasty, and most of all, a reason to watch. Every league needs its gold standard. For the WNBA, that was the Comets. 4 years, 4 rings, 1 unforgettable dynasty, the Lisa Leslie and Sparks takeover. With the Comets dynasty ending, the league was ready for a new face, and it got one in Lisa Leslie. By 2001, Leslie was already a star, but this is when she became the face of the WNBA. That year, she led the Los Angeles Sparks to their first championship, finally breaking Houston's hold on the league. The Sparks dominated the regular season with a 28-4 record and carried that momentum through the playoffs, beating the Charlotte Sting in the finals. Leslie averaged over 19 points per game and was named both League MVP and Finals MVP, a rare double crown. Then, in 2002, she did it again. The Sparks repeated, this time sweeping the Liberty in the finals. Leslie was everywhere, leading in scoring, anchoring the defense, and putting women's basketball in headlines across the country. But no moment captured her impact more than July 30th, 2002. In a regular season game against the Miami Sol, Lisa Leslie threw down the first dunk in WNBA history. The crowd erupted. It wasn't just a highlight, it was a symbol. A 6'5" center defying expectations, proving once again that women's basketball wasn't about limitations, it was about evolution. Off the court, Leslie's fame skyrocketed. She appeared on TV shows, landed endorsement deals, and was featured in magazines, becoming a household name. This short era belonged entirely to LA. The Sparks were flashy, physical, and full of star power. And with Lisa Leslie at the center of it all, the league had found its next dominant force. For 2 years, the WNBA spotlight wasn't shared. It belonged to Los Angeles, the Detroit Shock Revolution. By 2003, the WNBA was shifting, and no team shook things up more than the Detroit Shock. Coming off a dismal 9-23 record the year before, the Shock brought in former bad boy Bill Laimbeer as head coach. His philosophy? Toughness, defense, and attitude, and it worked fast. In one of the most dramatic turnarounds in league history, the Shock went from last place to champions in a single season. They finished 25-9 and defeated the heavily favored Los Angeles Sparks in a physical 3-game finals series. Swin Cash led the way with 13 points and 12 rebounds in Game 3, while Finals MVP Ruth Riley dominated inside. The game was held at the Palace of Auburn Hills, and over 22,000 fans showed up, the largest crowd in WNBA history at the time. The Shock weren't just winning, they were changing the way teams played. Laimbeer's style brought grit back into the league. Players like Deanna Nolan and Cheryl Ford thrived in the high-pressure blue-collar system. In 2006, Detroit claimed its second title of the era, beating the Sacramento Monarchs in 5 games. Katie Smith joined the roster and added a scoring punch, while Ford and Nolan continued to grow into stars. That series was a slugfest, physical, emotional, and wildly entertaining. This era marked a cultural shift for the league. It proved that styles could clash, rivalries could heat up, and dynasties could be built outside of Houston or LA. The Shock didn't just win, they made the league tougher, louder, and harder to predict. They weren't polished, they were powerful, and they left a mark that still echoes today. The Phoenix Mercury era begins. As the league entered its second decade, a new force rose from the desert, the Phoenix Mercury. Led by the unstoppable Diana Taurasi and guided by the unconventional mind of coach Paul Westhead, the Mercury didn't just win, they reinvented how the WNBA played. Westhead brought an offensive system straight out of college run and gun, fast, aggressive, and unrelenting. Taurasi thrived in it. She led the league in scoring multiple times during this stretch, routinely dropping 20-plus points per game with range, swagger, and no conscience. Paired with Cappie Pondexter's explosive athleticism and Penny Taylor's versatility, Phoenix became must-watch basketball. In 2007, the Mercury went 23-11 and entered the playoffs as underdogs behind more experienced teams. But they stormed through the bracket, eventually facing the Detroit Shock in the finals. The series was wild, physical on one end, up-tempo on the other. In Game 5, Taurasi and Taylor combined for 47 points to help Phoenix win the title, the first team ever to clinch on the road. 2 years later, they were back. The 2009 finals against the Indiana Fever was one of the most thrilling series in WNBA history. Taurasi averaged 20.4 points, Pondexter added 22 per game, and Phoenix outlasted Tamika Catchings and a gritty Fever squad in 5 games. Game 1 set a new record for most combined points in a WNBA Finals game, 120-116 in overtime. This era wasn't just about winning titles, it was about revolutionizing the league's offensive identity. Phoenix proved that pace, space, and fearless shooting could win championships. And Taurasi? She was evolving into the WNBA's ultimate scorer and one of its greatest ever players. The Mercury didn't just shine, they blazed a new trail, changing of the guard. By the early 2010s, the WNBA was entering a transitional phase. The legends of the league's first decade, Leslie, Cooper, Catchings, Swoops, were beginning to pass the torch. What followed was a stretch defined by shifting power, emerging stars, and one dominant team quietly taking over, the Seattle Storm. In 2010, the Storm went on a tear. With Lauren Jackson healthy and at her peak, Seattle finished 28-6 and rolled through the playoffs undefeated. Jackson, a 6'5" Australian force with range and post presence, was named both regular season MVP and finals MVP. With Sue Bird running the offense and Swin Cash bringing veteran toughness, Seattle swept Atlanta in the finals and claimed its second championship. It was quiet dominance, the kind that didn't seek attention but demanded respect. Across the league, young talent was on the rise. Sylvia Fowles began to establish herself as the premier center in the WNBA. Angel McCoughtry became a scoring machine for Atlanta, leading them to back-to-back finals appearances in 2010 and 2011, though both ended in losses. Tina Charles, just a rookie in 2010, averaged a staggering 11.7 rebounds per game, setting the tone for a decade of dominance in the paint. Meanwhile, familiar names were beginning to fade from the spotlight. Lisa Leslie had retired in 2009. Cheryl Swoops was out of the league. Even Taurasi, while still lethal, was surrounded by a Mercury team that had lost its edge. This era didn't have one defining super team. Instead, it was a league in flux, a changing of the guard. The foundations were being laid for the next wave of stars and rivalries. The dynasties of yesterday were giving way to something new, and the best was yet to come. The 3-to-C era. Every league needs its next generation of stars. And in 2013, the WNBA hit the jackpot. Brittany Griner, Elena Del Don, and Skylar Diggins were the headliners of what became the most hyped rookie class in league history. Dubbed the 3-to-C, they weren't just good, they were game changers. Brittany Griner brought size and jaw-dropping athleticism. In her debut, she dunked twice, something only one player, Lisa Leslie, had done before her. She was 6'9", could block shots like a center, and run the floor like a wing. Her arrival instantly turned the Phoenix Mercury into contenders again. Elena Del Don was the smoothest scorer the league had seen in years. With a 6'5" frame and a guard's shooting touch, she made the Chicago Sky relevant for the first time. In just her second season, she led them to the 2014 finals and won MVP in 2015, despite battling chronic illness and back injuries. Skylar Diggins brought flair and leadership to the Tulsa Shock, a struggling franchise looking for a spark. While her team didn't win much early on, she was a fan favorite, marketable, clutch, and fiercely competitive. Their arrival triggered a surge in attention. Ratings ticked up. Jerseys flew off shelves. The league leaned into their personalities and presence, finally pushing individual star power in a way that mirrored the NBA's marketing model. In 2014, The Mercury, now with Griner and Taurasi, finished 29-5 and won the title. In 2015, the Minnesota Lynx reasserted themselves behind Maya Moore, Simone Augustus, and Lindsay Whalen. The rivalries were heating up again. This era wasn't just about rookies, it was about renewal. The league got younger, bolder, and more dynamic. With the 3-C leading the way, the WNBA found its new wave, and fans found new reasons to tune in. The Lynx versus Sparks rivalry. Every great league needs a rivalry that defines an era, and for the WNBA, nothing matched the intensity of Minnesota versus Los Angeles. From 2015 to 2018, the Lynx and Sparks weren't just dominant. They were locked in one of the fiercest, most talent-loaded rivalries in basketball history. The Minnesota Lynx, led by Maya Moore, Sylvia Fowles, Simone Augustus, and Lindsay Whalen, were a powerhouse built on chemistry, discipline, and championship pedigree. They'd already won titles in 2011 and 2013, and by 2015 they were back, cruising to another championship with Moore at her peak and Fowles controlling the paint. But in 2016, the Sparks answered. Candace Parker, long hailed as one of the league's most talented stars, was chasing her first title, and she got it in unforgettable fashion. In a wild 5-game finals, Parker dropped 28 points in Game 5. Nneka Ogwumike hit the game-winning shot with 3.1 seconds left, and LA took the crown. Parker broke down in tears post-game. It wasn't just victory, it was validation. In 2017, the rematch came. Same teams, same stakes, same intensity. The Lynx got their revenge, winning Game 5 behind Fowles' dominance and Moore's clutch shooting. Fowles earned both regular season and finals MVP, cementing her legacy as one of the greatest centers ever. Even in 2018, as other teams started rising, both squads remained contenders. The finals spotlight shifted to other franchises, but the Lynx-Sparks battles left a lasting mark. Physical, emotional, and unforgettable. This era wasn't about parity, it was about excellence at the top. Super teams, big markets, primetime showdowns. For 4 straight years, the WNBA Finals felt like a collision course, and fans loved every minute of it. The Superstar Reshuffle. By 2019, the WNBA entered unfamiliar territory, not defined by one dynasty, but by disruption. Legends were stepping away. Rosters were shifting. A new generation was being forced into the spotlight. The league was in flux, but quietly, it was evolving. The most seismic shift came when Maya Moore, at the height of her powers, stepped away from basketball in 2019 to focus on criminal justice reform. Her absence left a noticeable void, not just for the Minnesota Lynx, but for the league as a whole. It was the first time a top player voluntarily walked away for something bigger than the game. Her decision reframed how people saw athletes, not just as competitors, but as change makers. On the court, the Las Vegas Aces were emerging. Powered by 2018 number 1 pick Aja Wilson and newly added stars like Liz Cambage, they brought energy, size, and flash to the West. At the same time, Breanna Stewart, fresh off her 2018 MVP and Finals MVP double, tore her Achilles playing overseas, forcing the Storm to rebuild temporarily without their best player. Meanwhile, the league underwent a major structural shift. In January 2020, players and the WNBA signed a landmark collective bargaining agreement, CBA, increasing salaries, improving travel conditions, and introducing family benefits. For the first time, the off-court stakes were treated as seriously as the on-court ones. Then came the bubble. The 2020 season, held entirely at the IMG Academy in Florida due to COVID-19, was shortened, isolated, and intense, but it produced some of the league's best basketball, with the Aces and Storm meeting in the finals. Seattle swept Vegas, and Stewart returned with a vengeance, dropping 37 in Game 1 and earning Finals MVP. This was a reset era, a pause, a moment of reshuffling stars, rewriting norms, and redefining what a WNBA player could stand for. The dynasties were gone, but the foundation for the future was being built in real time. The new era of player empowerment. If 2020 reshuffled the league, then 2021 and 2022 were the years it redefined itself. The WNBA entered a bold new chapter, driven by star movement, social activism, and the emergence of a new kind of super team. The era of player empowerment had officially arrived. The biggest signal? Candace Parker's homecoming. After spending her entire career in Los Angeles, the former MVP shocked the league by signing with her hometown Chicago Sky. It paid off instantly. In 2021, the Sky entered the playoffs as a number 6 seed and went on an unforgettable title run. Kalia Copper exploded, Courtney Vandersloot dished dimes like magic, and Parker led Chicago to its first-ever championship, defeating the top-seeded Phoenix Mercury in 4 games. The title was gritty, emotional, and the perfect debut for this new era. Meanwhile, the Las Vegas Aces, now coached by Becky Hammon, were becoming the league's most modern team, powered by Aja Wilson, Kelsey Plum, and Chelsea Gray. The Aces didn't win the 2021 title, but they were clearly building something special. The Count It campaign, launched by the league in 2021, also marked a new tone: bold, unapologetic, and star-focused. The WNBA leaned into social media, player personalities, and cultural relevance like never before. In 2022, Las Vegas finally broke through. Wilson won her second MVP, and the Aces defeated the Connecticut Sun in the finals, earning the franchise's first championship. Chelsea Gray's finals MVP run was legendary, and Hammon became the first rookie head coach to win a title. This wasn't just a shift in standings, it was a shift in power. Players were picking their destinations, defining their brands, and pushing the league forward on their own terms. The WNBA was no longer just about basketball, it was about control, visibility, and momentum. The Super Team Showdown begins. By 2023, the WNBA had officially entered the Super Team era, and the arms race was on. The offseason saw 2 league-altering moves. Breanna Stewart signed with the New York Liberty, and Candace Parker joined the reigning champion Las Vegas Aces. Overnight, the league had its headline rivalry, Aces versus Liberty. Talent on both sides looked like an all-star draft. Las Vegas had Aja Wilson, Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, and Jackie Young. New York countered with Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, Jonquel Jones, and Courtney Vandersloot. It wasn't just stacked, it was cinematic. Both teams dominated the regular season, with the Aces finishing 34-6 and the Liberty close behind at 32-8. Every matchup between the two felt like a preview of the inevitable, a heavyweight finals clash, and that's exactly what fans got. The 2023 WNBA Finals didn't disappoint. The Aces and Liberty went toe-to-toe, with highlight plays, MVP moments, and star power on full display. Wilson, fueled by a controversial MVP snub, was relentless. In Game 4, she dropped 24 points and 16 rebounds to close the series and give Las Vegas back-to-back titles, the first repeat champions in over 2 decades. Beyond the games, media attention surged. The Aces became a feature on late-night shows, and Liberty home games at Barclays were selling out. Players were building personal brands, launching signature shoes, and commanding national coverage. This era was about spectacle, star alignment, and statement wins. Super teams weren't just allowed, they were celebrated. And for the first time in WNBA history, the finals felt like an event on the same level as any major sports championship. The WNBA had leveled up, and everyone was watching. The Caitlin Clark effect. In 2024, the WNBA didn't just grow, it exploded. The reason? Caitlin Clark. After a record-breaking college career that turned her into a national sensation, Clark entered the league with more hype than any player in WNBA history. She wasn't just a number 1 pick, she was a movement. Her deep threes, no-look passes, and swagger made her appointment viewing long before she ever suited up for the Indiana Fever. Once she arrived, the entire basketball world followed. Opening night? Sold out. Fever games? Nationally televised. Merchandise? Flying off the shelves. By mid-season, viewership numbers shattered records, and ticket demand spiked across every city she visited. But it wasn't just Clark. Her presence brought the spotlight to everyone. Angel Reese, Cam Brink, Camila Cardoso, and Aaliyah Boston became must-watch rookies. Suddenly, every night felt like an event. The league responded. Media coverage reached new heights, debates raged across social platforms, and fan bases exploded in size. The Caitlin Clark effect didn't just bring eyes, it brought intensity. Every foul, every comment, every matchup sparked conversation. Her impact was cultural. It elevated her rivals, It raised the stakes. Meanwhile, veterans like Aja Wilson, Brianna Stewart, and Kelsey Plum weren't backing down. The Aces still ran the league, the Liberty remained loaded, and the competition got fiercer. The 2024 season felt like a collision of eras, the old guard defending their turf and a new generation kicking the door down. What followed was the beginning of something different. Expansion talks returned. Brands lined up. Kids wore WNBA jerseys to school. For the first time, the WNBA felt like it had crossed over into the mainstream. This isn't just another chapter, it's the beginning of a brand new era, one defined by flash, fans, and a future that's finally arrived.